Hello, welcome to tonight's virtual science and healthcare event. My name is Mark O'Donoghue and I'm one of the assistant principals here at UTC Warrington. Next slide, please. Just a few housekeeping things to bear in mind before we start. All microphones and cameras are disabled this evening. At the bottom of the screen, you will see a question and answer box that you can write any questions that you have. And at the end of the presentation, we'll answer any questions you may have about UTC or the science and healthcare pathway. The whole evening should end approximately about 6:15, so we're here for about 45 minutes. And any additional questions you may have, you can email us at info@utcw.co.uk. Next slide, please. So just the agenda for this evening. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is about university technical colleges in general and what they are and what purpose they serve in the educational environment. I'm going to introduce you to UTC Warrington, what makes us special and how we fit in to education in Warrington. I'm going to give you an overview of the Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 curriculum here at the UTC. And then we're going to lead on to the science pathway and healthcare pathway at UTC Warrington. And that will be led by Mr. Twist, who's the head of science here at UTC Warrington. They're going to have a couple of short videos, one from one of our employer partners. We're going to talk about the possible destinations you can have the potential to achieve if you do the healthcare and science pathway. And then we're going to have one final video from one of our ex-pupils who is now working in the healthcare industry. And then to cap off the whole evening, we're going to answer all the questions that you may have wanted to ask throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. So, as you can see there, UTC Warrington offers sixth form students who have a passion for science and technology, a further pathway for them to develop further skills that lead into the world of apprenticeships, university and employment. We were very recently rated Ofsted good, and we're very proud of that. And we're also sponsored by Manchester Metropolitan University, but also have lots of links with other local universities in the Northwest. We're a fully funded school through government funding, and we work very closely with other technology academies and local schools to help deliver our courses. And next slide, please. So, what's special about UTCs? Well, UTC technical colleges have been set up for over 10 years now. There's 48 UTCs throughout the country, each one having its own specialism. So they range from engineering, digital, healthcare, and they have the creative arts. And we've been open here for nearly 5 years now, and our specialisms are science and engineering. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the purpose of UTCs is quite varied. They are state funded, as I say. Most of them do specialise in science and technology. They blend academic and technical education. So students that join us in year 10 will have the full academic suite of courses, but will also have technical education to top up those courses. Most of them have specialisms to do with engineering, technology and science. But the key thing that sets us apart is our links with university and local employers. They are the cornerstone of everything that we do within the college, and I'll come back to that at a later date. When you join UTC Warrington, the thing that you will notice here and in all UTCs is the amount of investment we've had in specialist equipment, most of which has been advised by local industry as the best way of progressing students onto work and employment. Next slide, please. So, as you can see there, that's a big list of many of the UTC partners and supporters throughout the country. From most of the country's largest employers across all sorts of ranges, from pharmaceuticals and science, the nuclear industry. And on there, you'll see some of the employers that ourselves, as UTC Warrington, have been very active with. And you can see the Royal Air Force, Network Rail, Fujitsu, and Sellafield. But this is just a small sample of the sorts of employers that we're dealt with. A key part of coming to a UTC is that we have a huge focus on destinations. We're very keen on not just providing a pathway for 4 years education or 2 years education, but providing that pathway onto apprenticeships, employment and university beyond the time that you're with us. Next slide, please. So, I'm sure if you know Warrington well, you've seen our building. It's quite an iconic building. It's difficult to miss. And we're very proud of what we've done here. As I said earlier, we've been here for nearly 5 years now, purpose-built for providing science and engineering education in the Warrington and surrounding areas. The building cost £10 million to build, of which around about £1.5 million was invested in specialist engineering and science equipment. Next slide, please. So, our specialisms are what we generally call our pathways, split into 4 main areas. We have general engineering, and that covers mechanical engineering, electrical, manufacturing engineering. We have construction and the built environment. That leads students onto civil engineering, surveying, quantity surveying, and working in the building industry. We have our healthcare and science pathway, which leads into all sorts of industries to do with science, research, the NHS, pharmaceuticals, healthcare in terms of social care, and this is what we're going to be talking to you about tonight. And finally, we've got the digital pathway, which is linked into the cybersecurity, coding and networking industries. So quite a varied selection, but obviously tonight we're going to be focusing on healthcare. If you want to find out about any of the others, you'll be able to download the virtual open evenings that we've had for the other 3 off our website. Next slide, please. So why choose UTC Warrington in particular? Well, I've mentioned some of these already. The breadth and depth of employer engagement is second to none within the area. Most of our students will not go through any of the 4 years there with us without some involvement with an employer. That can be employers coming into the college and talking to them and giving them the benefit of their wisdom. It can involve work experience, and it can also be involved in master classes from our employers. We've also had virtual work experience with students in this difficult times of COVID, but it's part and parcel of what we deliver to all our students, and it's part of what we call the UTC promise. We've got state-of-the-art STEM facilities. If you get the chance to come into the college later on in the year, you'll see that the whole of our first floor is devoted to engineering workshop. As you move through the building, you'll see that we've had a major investment in engineering and science equipment. We've got 4 state-of-the-art science labs with all the very latest equipment, so we can do most of the experiments you'd require to be able to fulfill any level 3 qualification. I'm very proud of our facilities here in science. But if you join us for the healthcare pathway, it's not just about the curriculum for the course that you're being offered. We're here to support students in everything that they do. So we do have a pastoral team. We have a head of sixth form and a learning support manager for sixth form. And we also develop students in their personal and social welfare. So all the students will be studying their social they'll be looking at their personal, social and health education with us. and developing skills to make them more employable. We teach the lessons tend to be in smaller classes than GCSE. So most class sizes will be 20 or less. And what we believe we're providing is a very competitive group of students for the world of work and hopefully apprenticeships in university. But what makes us different to going to a school or a sixth form is that we believe in treating young people as young adults. We have a very professional, mature learning environment. We expect students to dress smartly and to behave like young men and women. Next slide, please. So I think I've mentioned some of this already. We have fabulous facilities here. Quite a different building, because being 6 floors high. But we have lots and lots of absolutely fabulous equipment that most of our students will get to use at some point in the 4 years that they're here. And this is never ending. So although we had a big investment in equipment in the first year or two, we're still investing in state-of-the-art equipment. An example of that is through local enterprise funding. We've just invested in lots of virtual reality headsets, so students can use these to investigate different scenarios rather than actually being there. And it's something that we're going to try and look at for use in the healthcare pathway as well. Next slide, please. So, our links to employers, as I mentioned before, is what sets apart all UTCs from each other and sets them apart from other skills. We've been very lucky to have close links from day one, and it's constantly changing. So we had lots of companies that were involved with us in the first few years, and this has developed year on year and is constantly being improved and enhanced as we go from year to year. Now there's a few names at the side that you can see, such as Fujitsu and Atkins and Stanley and Cavendish Nuclear, who were here with us from day one. But companies such as Balfour Beatty and Jacobs have really got to grips with what we do here and have seen that UTC Warrington can be a pipeline for their students onto their apprenticeships and onto employment with them. We've got good links with Bridgewater Health Community Trust in terms of the healthcare pathway, and Mr. Twist will talk about that in a short while. And it's those links that will help our students get the best work experiences and the best industrial links that will help them get the best destinations. As I've said earlier, we do have trips and visits. It's been difficult this year with employers, but that's something we will really want to progress next year and the year after. Many employers want to meet the young people, and so we're fortunate they come into the college and deliver projects with the students that can help develop their skills. We have master classes where experts will come in and deliver parts of the course that we may not be experts as teachers. And what that allows us to do is give all our young people a bit of a view of what it's like to work in the real environment in industry and in the workplace. But probably the most important thing that we offer students is that we offer all of our sixth form students the chance to do work experience. Now this year it has been difficult with coronavirus, and that has been a virtual work experience and it's all been online, but we're very confident that once we've come through these difficult times, all of our students next year and the year after will be given the opportunity to do work experience with many of our employer partners. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about our curriculum because we obviously teach from year 10 all the way through to year 13. So there are mirrors with both curriculums in terms of Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5. In Key Stage 4, we have to do a core curriculum, just like any other school. So all students will do GCSE Maths, GCSE English Literature and English Language. They will all do combined science, but they will be given the option to do separate science if they wish. And then we have our 4 pathways. And the 4 pathways will essentially mirror what they can also do into our 6th form in Key Stage 5, which means that you could be on the construction pathway for all 4 years. although it doesn't mean that you're stuck with that. And if you want to choose pathway when you get into Key Stage 5, there's no problem with that at all. So the 4 pathways, as I've mentioned before, are construction, digital, engineering, and science and healthcare. And you can see on the slide that's in front of you that there's a choice of different subjects that you can do, some of them being in more than one pathway, which the students choose to do. But as I've said, none of those pathways that you do in year 10 will dictate what you can do in year 12. It's still very open-ended. It's just what you're interested in doing. But the thing that we promise students is that that isn't just what we deliver to students. It's the extras that make a UTC special. So on top of that, we have our enrichment program. So we offer a combined cadet force to all students. We have lots of enrichment activities to do with engineering and science clubs, engineering projects, and we have our employer partners that do masterclasses and projects with us. So we have a full enriched curriculum for students to make them into that more whole character. We also focus on employability. There will be some students who will get to year 11, the end of year 11, who want to go straight onto apprenticeships and who may want to go straight into the world of employment. And although we want most of our students to stay with us for 4 years, it may not be appropriate for all. And so, therefore, we provide students with the necessary skills to make them more employable and to make them ready for the world of work and the world of apprenticeships. And if we can just change the slide now, Liz, please, we'll look at the Key Stage 5 curriculum. So the post-16 curriculum, as you can see, mirrors very similar to what you saw at Key Stage 4. So it's the same 4 pathways. We've got engineering, construction, digital, and the science and healthcare pathway. We've kind of split those into 2 possible routes you can take, though. So the course that many of our students take is what's called the extended diploma. So that's a course where students will be studying for about 15 hours a week. And that will be an extended diploma, for instance, in engineering or in applied science. That course, at the end of it, will give you the equivalent of 3 A-levels. And the course grades, very similar to other vocational courses, will be pass, merit or distinctions. Now with that course, your options are almost limitless. Many of our students go on to apprenticeships, many of our students go to university, and some of our students go into the world of work. But it doesn't stop you from doing any of those 3 further destinations. It's a fabulous way forward. It's very different to the conventional A-level route, in that with A-levels, it's 100% examined these days. With the BTEC level 3 extended diploma, you end up doing around about 13 or 14 different units over the 2 years, but only about 20% of that is examined. The vast majority of the course is either controlled assessment or it's coursework that's internally assessed by your teacher. And so it's a better fit for some students who are better at doing that sort of work, where they're doing project work, where they're able to focus on a task in maybe shorter sections, rather than revising for exams at the end of a 2-year course. To give us slightly more flexibility though, we have what we call the combined route. So we also have other A-levels that students can do. So for instance, if you wanted to go to some universities, they may ask for an extra A-level. And so we offer other A-levels on top of the BTEC course that you can do alongside it, which just gives you potentially a better fit for the course you want to do. Now that can be that you do the A-level against the full BTEC, that's worth 3 A-levels, or you can do the kind of shortened BTEC, which is worth 2 A-levels. But it's quite a flexible route. We used to call it the hybrid route, but it allows our students just that flexibility they might need for different pathways in the future. But once again, you'll notice at the side we have enrichment and we have employability, because they're the cornerstones of what we deliver here at UTC Warrington. The enrichment program very similar in that students can carry on with the combined cadet force. Through that we offer the Duke of Edinburgh Award, but we also expect students to be involved in other activities as well, both with our employers and both with younger students at college and with the different teaching groups to enhance their skills for their subject area. It makes them that bit more of a rounded character when they're applying for apprenticeships in university. The key thing for us, once again, is what makes us very different to other schools and colleges is our destinations. Our destinations statistics for UTC Warrington are second to none in Warrington. And we believe that every student needs to be followed through, not for the 4 years they're with us, but for 5 and 6 years. And we believe wholeheartedly in year 12 and year 13 in developing their skills, both in terms of interview skills, writing their CV, filling out application forms, doing their personal statements, and preparing them for the world of work and for the world of apprenticeships and university. And I really do think that sets us apart. We're very proud of what we've been doing here at UTC Warrington, and I think our record speaks for itself, and you'll get to meet one of our ex-pupils in a short while who'll be able to go into that in a little bit more depth. That's the part of the presentation that I'm going to finish with now, where I've talked about our college and UTCs, but I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Twist, who's the head of science, who's going to talk to you about the health care and science pathway in particular.
Very good evening. So, thank you, Mr. O'Donoghue. Science and Healthcare Pathway at UTC Warrington. Let's advance the slide, please. The package that the UTC offers is very different, and it's very different in one main area, and that is the engagement with employers and the career pathways that the students will opt for. One of the great benefits of having such close ties with our employer partners is the investment that's provided. So the specialist equipment that we have here is second to none and will not be found in any other institute in the Northwest.
I've chosen health care and social carers because basically I've been helped in the past with stuff and I've just took an interest in it and I want to help people the exact same I've been helped.
I really like science because I like to get to know how everything works. So I like looking at biology specifically because I like knowing how the body works, and I think it's quite interesting. I would like to be a nurse or a midwife, so I'd like to do that through an apprenticeship.
In terms of our Key Stage 4 provision, like the majority of schools, we carry the Trilogy Science package, which 2 4s or 2 5s will carry a student onto the Key Stage 5 platform. In terms of the pathways within the science faculty, at Key Stage 5, this essentially branches into 2, the applied science route and the health and social care route. We've had an increase in the number of students showing keen interest in employment within the healthcare sector. We're looking to adopt that course strongly from September.
What the UTC offers is the actual courses to do it, to go on to university, to go on to be a nurse or pretty much anything in the NHS, which is good for me, obviously.
The teachers, they send you all materials, or they send you any work experience that's put out online to make sure you're pursuing your aspirations.
We're currently nurturing a link with Cheshire Fire and Rescue to aid us in the delivery of the forensics units within the applied science course. We are nurturing links with one of the clinical labs that the NHS uses. This allows the students to complete practical work in a professional setting, which also carries opportunities for degree apprenticeships.
Before I came here, I didn't know. I was kind of scared to think about what I was going to do. And I was in a time frame of where I am going to have to start thinking about it, but I don't know where to start. Whereas when I came to UTC, as soon as I stepped through the door, I kind of felt I'm going to find it here, what I want to do. And they're going to tell me how to do it, help me how to do it, and I'm going to succeed.
Health and social care, the primary destination for the students will be into counselling, therapeutic services, adult care in care homes, and childcare, nursery nursing, and midwifery. It's worth noting the current statistics show that these were published this month. 1 in 4 students graduating from the Key Stage 5 health and social care pathway go directly into nursing. We also have lots of opportunity within the NHS for apprenticeships. So students will come off that 4-year pathway, the health sciences pathway. They'll have a level 3 qualification in health and social care. They could then go into an apprenticeship with the NHS. Currently, I'll just look at my board here where I keep my list of current apprenticeships. The apprenticeships on offer, if you look today, you would find therapy assistants, school nursing, community link workers, nursing associates, and all of these are going to be a band 3 qualification in terms of the nursing pathways and their salaries. The sciences are a much broader science qualification. So for students who are still perhaps interested in the healthcare route, but perhaps their mind isn't entirely made up, or they want to go onto a purer science pathway, leading into biomedical sciences, forensic sciences, marine sciences, environmental sciences, and zoological sciences. It's worth noting that both of those qualifications are an access into nursing. For a nursing degree to go in at band 5, you will qualify through UCAS with care or a level 3 applied science qualification. Next slide, please. If we look at the units, and I think this is where most students make their mind up when they see the content of the course, there are mandatory units and then there are optional units. So we do have choice, and we make those choices based on conversations with the students and their preferences. So it will build them a package which they feel will best enable them to move into their particular career choice. If we look at the mandatory units, Unit 6 is worth talking about first of all because it involves work experience. So earlier this week, I was on a webinar with the leader of this course, who has given assurances that whilst it's difficult with the COVID restrictions to find a work placement within the NHS, or within a nursery, or within the adult care setting, that working within your community, supporting the elderly who might be lonely or in need of somebody to go and pick up the shopping, that will count towards one of their 100 hours that they need to accumulate for their work experience. So in terms of this course being, as it's packaged right now, it still is packaged like this. The students will be able to satisfy the work experience element, and hopefully things will begin to open up later into next year, and the students could find themselves in the local hospital in a particular ward that interests them, gaining those 100 hours. And it's worth noting as well that the 100 hours can come from a mixture of experiences in adult care, in childcare, within a hospital, within the community as a community link, or with social work or school nursing. If we look now at the optional units, again, you can see it's written in smaller print because there are so many of them. And again, we will try and match our choice of units to the desires of the students. There are some limitations in terms of you can pick 2 from the first block, 1 from the second block, but we never seem to have an issue with students not getting the majority of the units that they would prefer to be included in their qualification. And of course, they still get the same qualification. Next slide, please. Similar structure with the applied science pathway. You have mandatory units and then you have optional units. The mandatory units here are very much skill-based, very much. We want to put young people into the workplace or into the market with a genuine package of skills where they can sit down in front of an apprenticeship provider or a potential employer and talk at length around what they can do, not just what they know. And that essentially is what the BTEC is about, whether it's a BTEC in engineering, construction, the healthcare, or the applied science. The British Technology Education Council, set up in 1974, which is what BTEC stands for,
That's what they wanted to deliver. They wanted to deliver young people into the workplace or into the market which had skills so they could get in hands-on much more quickly. In terms of the optional units, this is where it gets quite exciting again. We tailor this based on the desires of the students. So currently we have several students who would like to go into nursing. So they'd like to carry through the biology units around human physiology. Moving into next year, our current year 12s, they're expressing a strong desire around forensics and forensic investigation, or perhaps working in, well, I mentioned earlier, or Mr. O'Donoghue did, about the link with Cheshire Fire and Rescue, which we're nurturing, and we're looking at working with them, with their fire investigation team, to satisfy the forensics units, which could also be involved with the police force. And that's something we're currently building on, so that those students are going to go and apply for courses and be able to talk about real life experience in an investigation team, whether it be police investigation or fire investigation. It's a forensics package. So it's very powerful and very exciting. Next slide, please. So I just mentioned about the Cheshire Fire and Rescue Unit. We've also got the NHS, the largest employer we've got available to us here in the UK. The pathways within the NHS are so varied, from radiography to phlebotomy, to being a link worker, to being an orderly. Whichever pathway fits with the student's desire, we are here to enable that. We're here to find them opportunities to get real life, hands-on work experience, and not just a few days of it. As I said, it's going to be 100 hours of work experience. We also work closely with the STFC, the Science and Technology Facilities Council. They, from time to time, will offer masterclasses, which we always sign up for. We are a regular patron with them. In fact, so regular, they chose to host one of their talks in the college last year. This, of course, embellishes the content, the science content of the course, where they're meeting experts, professionals, who are able to talk at length about the new, exciting, cutting-edge technologies that they're developing. The STFC is also another primary apprenticeship provider in the Northwest. I've mentioned the NHS. There are several NHS Foundation Trusts which we're building links with. You're going to hear from the Bridgewater Foundation Trust this evening. We've also got the Manchester Foundation Trust and the Warrington and Halton Foundation Trust. So we really are spoiled in terms of where we can place our students to get that experience and a taste of what they might choose as their healthcare career. Next slide, please. So it's time to meet one of our employer partners. So I'll hand over now to Sarah Power.
My name is Sarah Power. I'm Talent for Care Programme Facilitator at Bridgewater Community Healthcare Foundation Trust. We are a community foundation trust. We deliver a range of health services in Warrington, in Halton, in Oldham, in a number of different boroughs in the Northwest. Our headquarters are in Warrington. We recently relocated there last year. We also have a dental network that spans the quite a wide geography across the Northwest. And yeah, we're focused on providing quality health services and person-centred care. We're really keen to work with Warrington UTC. We were connected through a shared network. When we moved our head office to Warrington, we made a bit of an effort to kind of connect with the local schools and further education colleges, and Warrington UTC really stood out. Their ethos and their values and their ideal of preparing students with these employability skills that we're looking for. As we're trying to grow our apprenticeship offer as an organisation, we're trying to make more opportunities to externally recruit apprentices and grow our own, if you like. And I think what we're looking for matches very much with what Warrington UTC are trying to prepare their students. They're actively seeking our opinion on what we're looking for and shaping their curriculum and their learning activities around that. And I think that can only be a positive for us as a local employer. We've had some really interesting conversations with Warrington UTC recently. Obviously, they've got big plans to launch their new health and social care pathway, and that's really interesting and attractive to us, and further strengthens why we want to be working more closely with them. We've got plans this year, some exciting plans to hopefully devise a week-long interactive work experience programme, virtual work experience programme. So we're not able to run our face-to-face placements at the moment due to the restrictions and sort of safety concerns around COVID-19. So we wanted to make sure we have an offer, and Warrington UTC are working with us to prepare that, and we very much hope that's successful in this summer term, that will be something that we can run again and again, and will be even more applicable to students that are on this particular pathway. Obviously, we're not offering those face-to-face placements at the moment, and that is purely due to restrictions around COVID-19. But we very much hope, as soon as we're in a position, to lift some of those measures, that in the future we can start to invite the students from Warrington UTC, as well as other local students, back into our workplaces so they can see things for themselves, whether that be visiting our head office or some time spent shadowing or work experience in some of our clinical environments or corporate offices. We're hoping to, in the meantime, to just keep linking up. So where there's a need for some careers insight, if we can use one of our careers ambassadors, to speak to that student. So just working together, hopefully, more and more.
Welcome back. So I feel I just want to point something out. You've heard several times there about not being able to do things. So like I said earlier, we can still provide the requirement around work placement, work experience hours. We have been on calls with Pearson and their leaders for the course. And as I've said, there are still ways to satisfy those hours by doing community work in a safe and responsible way and supporting people within the community. But as Sarah just mentioned there, like I said, obviously getting into hospital settings at the moment is just not sensible or safe. But in the longer term, that's absolutely where we will be. Okay, looking at the destinations then, as Mr. O'Donoghue mentioned earlier, we have a very, very positive story here. 100%, that number speaks for itself. Now let's look at the two numbers at the bottom. It's kind of hidden. 38% compared to 5%. That is a significant difference in the number of students that leave us having secured higher status degrees or apprenticeships in STEM pathways, STEM careers. We're very proud of that number, and it's only increasing year on year. So let me clarify. Our students will go on to university, the fairly traditional pathway. They will also go on to apprenticeships. We have different apprenticeship providers, mainly the NHS for the health and social care pathway. Also off the applied science pathway, again, it does mainly link into NHS as a provider. Then the 5% average nationally, I think they're very envious of what we are delivering. I'm probably wondering how we're doing it. And it's because we're a passionate team and we believe in what we're doing, and we're outward looking. We're always looking to develop new relationships with new employers and bring them on board and make that connection between highly skilled, highly motivated, highly able students and what they need, which are the same three things. Next slide, please. So, Dylan, who you're about to hear from, was one of our first students who completed the science and healthcare pathway. I'll let Dylan explain what he went on to do.
Hi everyone, I'm Dylan Bamber. I went to UTC Warrington starting in 2016 when it first opened. I did engineering when I first started, and I moved on to doing BTEC Applied Science in college. I wanted to join UTC Warrington because the way it specialised in engineering and science. In my old school it wasn't very specialised, so therefore UTC was able to give me the new skills and the opportunities within engineering and science. It's a good question, really, because UTC as a whole was a really enjoyable experience. The fact that the classroom sizes were a lot smaller, the opportunities that were given to you with the employers, whether that would be work experience days, work experience weeks, there was lots and lots of opportunities given to you, and I think that was definitely stemmed to allow me to get the career that I'm in today. Currently work for West Midlands Ambulance Service. I do in high dependency at the moment, so that means that I go responding to GP referrals, 111 calls, low category emergency calls. I'm working with patients every day. I've worked my way up from going from patient transport to where I am now, and I'm hoping to go to paramedic shortly. And again, that's probably a big thanks to UTC Warrington. I think most definitely it's prepared me well for my future, because if it wasn't for UTC, I wouldn't have gained a lot of the skills that I had. They allow me to progress further and further, and they motivated me and they pushed me each day until the very end, and they were non-stop. I highly recommend if you're coming to join the sixth form. The teachers that are there are with you every single minute. If you need anything, they're like a mentor and one of a teacher. They'll do anything for you. There's a good environment within sixth form because it's only quite a small college. You're not just classed as a number, you are classed as a student, and they do believe in UTC Warrington. So I would highly recommend it to anyone thinking to go to UTC Warrington within the hands-on experience and the teaching that they're there as well.